Well, hello. And the eagle eyed amongst you will realise that I'm not Matt Baker. I am indeed Natalie Pinkham, and I'm joined by Damon Hill. And Happy New Year, Damon. Can we still say that?
Yeah, I think we can just about say that now. Is it 22nd, 23rd of January? 23rd of January. Yeah, so we're nearly out of New Year greetings. But the new year has started with a bit of news, bit of breaking news
It has. It
regarding
has. With the
a
new year.
race. Yes, and
Please
you can
break
say
the news to
hola.
anyone who doesn't know it. Hola. Que bien.
Hola.
Yes.
Well, this is a bit of a change to our calendars that we've become used to, potentially, with the announcement of the Madrid race in 26. So that's not too far away, but we've still got a couple more seasons of Barcelona. I'm not sure whether this means the end of Barcelona. Stefano Domenicali has intimated that the door is still open there, and potentially there could be two races in Spain. But in all honesty, I'd be very surprised if that was to happen. But we'll know more, I think, in the future. But it's a big announcement to have a change or a new venue for Formula One, especially in the heart of Europe.
Absolutely. Now, of course, the only two countries at the moment that have two races are the USA and Italy. So, as you say, pretty unlikely that Spain will get a second. But yes, Stefano hasn't ruled it out. So, let's talk about the pros and cons. Let's talk a bit, firstly, about Madrid itself. It's obviously a vibrant city, and the track promises to be part street, part constructed circuit. Does that excite you? I mean, we're looking at a 3.3-mile circuit, which sounds like it's got a bit of everything with 20 corners and a qualifying speed of 1 minute 32, I believe. Very specific.
Yeah, the area it's in appears to be some sort of commercial district, and there's some there's a lot of emphasis on its carbon footprint and its viability in terms of low impact on the sustainability. Looking at the picture, I can sort of see a motorway going through the middle of it, so it might actually be crossing over a main thoroughfare, but it's very close to the centre of the city, and getting in and out would be easier. It'd be more like going to a football stadium, I should think, because it looks like
Mm.
the transport system is all in place and it's very near the airport. So, as far as the impact, environmental impact goes, I think it's going to tick a few boxes. They seem to be having a lot of the announcements had a heavy emphasis on its sustainability credentials. So that might be one good reason. But of course, the other thing is it's a capital city. So, tracks have been, there's always been a desire to get race circuits and sporting events as close as possible to population densities for obvious reasons, hotels, accessibility and all the rest of it.
Yes, and of course, that is part of Formula One's commitment to be net carbon zero by 2030. So that is certainly a step in the right direction. Barcelona certainly has come in for a bit of criticism of late. In 2022, saw all sort of logistical issues for the 300,000 plus fans that flooded in. If you remember, Damon, it was boiling hot. Do you remember we went down to the fan zone together and it was baking, and the fans were slightly disgruntled because it was difficult for them to get to and from the circuit, as you've mentioned, but also
Oh,
difficult to get
there
things
was a
like
year where
water. Do you
yeah,
remember?
it was a disaster one year for getting in and out, wasn't there? I remember that.
Yeah.
I can't remember the precise reason why that was, but it was yeah, there was a lot of unhappy people. But Barcelona's, it's close enough. I mean, it's not like it's, you have to say somewhere like Silverstone is a long way from the capital
Mm.
city. I mean, it's in the centre of Great Britain, so it can draw on quite a lot of population centres around it. So it's very conveniently placed in the middle of the country. But Barcelona is a bit of a trip outside the main city of Barcelona, which is where most people stay, and so it requires a lot of traffic to come in and out and park around the circuit. And it was one year it was a bit chaotic. It was a lot of people, like I said, a lot of people very angry and very hot. You can't
Yeah.
complain about the heat, though, can you? Really? Not in the middle of
No.
January.
I definitely would never complain about the heat, but certainly that didn't help Barcelona's cause, and there was, some concern that it may fall off the calendar. But what I want to know from you, from a driver's perspective, is how important is Barcelona? It's obviously a track that all the drivers and teams know so very well. So, in terms of setting a benchmark, in terms of getting data back from your car and understanding exactly where your car is. It's got a bit of everything, hasn't it? Is there anything in this familiarity breeds contempt? Actually, do they know the circuit too well? And often when we've seen drivers plunged into the unknown, we've had some of the best races.
I would say Barcelona, without wanting to, to exacerbate there must be a little bit crestfallen having seen the race go or being announced to go to a rival city. Let's say Madrid is quite famously not Barcelona, and they've got their rivalries between the two regions. But the circuit itself in Barcelona I have to say, was never a great racetrack. The problem with Barcelona was that the corners were very constant radius and medium to high speed, and it really put a limit on cars being able to race there. It has got a fantastically long straight, which was helpful, and they only recently brought back in the quick corner before the last corner, which helped a little bit, I think, with cars getting close to each other and the new regulations. But the problem with Barcelona was it did produce rather processional races for the very reason that the cars can be driven to the limit more easily on that circuit than they can on other circuits, because as I said, it's almost like a wind tunnel. The cars, you're going to find out if your car's got good aerodynamics at Barcelona, because that's really what keeps you on the road there. So unfortunately, it's not so good for racing.
It felt, though, every year that Barcelona was when the European season started, and it felt like Formula One was almost coming home. You had the hospitality units back. You were back on the right time zone for most of the teams. Is it going to miss that if it falls off the calendar?
Yeah, I haven't actually seen what date they're planning to put Madrid on, but I'm guessing it will be in a similar sort of
June.
slot
Yeah,
in June, is it? So yeah, so
I believe so.
that could be very hot indeed in Madrid. But yeah, I know what you mean. The Barcelona thing, when you started off in what used to be Australia, and then now it's going to be Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, and then the European season starts again. It used to be we'd start off in Imola, we'd go off around start in Brazil or places like that, and then we come to Imola, and that'd be the start of the European season. But I don't think those things are really considerations that are terribly important. I mean, if you're coming back to Europe and you start in Madrid, well, that's great too. But it's exciting to have a new venue. It's also good, I think, for European fans as well, because we've seen a proliferation of races in faraway places, and the globe is covered, but we don't want to be losing venues in the middle of Europe. So if it means that we keep a race in Europe and Madrid has stepped up to the plate there, then that's a good thing.
Well, let's talk a bit more about those European fans, because you say, I mean, it does feel like it's coming home when it comes back to Europe, because there's obviously a huge amount of support for this sport all over the world. But most of the drivers and the teams are based in Europe. Now, we saw an 84% rise in the Spanish audience watching the Grand Prix. 10 million watched the Grand Prix in 2023. Do you think that's down to the Fernando effect? And of course, Carlos being in a Ferrari. To have two Spanish racers on the grid certainly will draw the eyeballs to the screen. Is this something that we're just seeing all around the world, this huge upsurge in support for Formula One?
Yeah, I think it definitely is, and that's a good thing, that there's interest in our sport, and it's providing entertainment. And of course, you cannot discount the fact that Carlos Sainz Sr. are from Madrid as well. So it may well be that Carlos's win last year was also helping. I mean, these things take a long time to plan, so I can't imagine it was dependent on Carlos winning in Monza. But it's
In Singapore.
it's a factor.
Yeah.
Singapore, beg your pardon. Yeah, beg your pardon.
Mm.
Yeah, he got pole in Monza, didn't he? But anyway,
Yeah.
but Singapore. I mean, it's it's good that we have two Spanish drivers. I can remember when I was racing, there were no Spanish drivers at all, and you could holiday in Spain and no one would recognise you, and so there was no interest.
I
And
don't
then along
believe
came
you.
Fernando
You get
Alonso.
recognised wherever we go.
Yeah, well, now in Spain they've got a good following for Formula One. It used to be just motorbikes and rallying, of course. So, if you were Carlos Sainz Sr., you probably wouldn't be able to live in Spain for attention. But so now you've got two big names in the sport, Spanish names, and of course the Spanish speaking community around the world is. I think it's the second most spoken language next to Chinese. I think so. There are a lot of Spanish speakers out there as well. So having Checo as well as the other two Spanish drivers, it increases the interest, I think.
And we can't talk about Carlos Sr. without mentioning the Dakar Rally. I mean, the guy is phenomenal. How much of a surprise was that he was able to claim victory again?
Well, a bit of a. I mean, it's always a bit of a lottery, isn't it? The Dakar. It's extraordinary at his age, and I shouldn't say at his age really, because it doesn't sound like it's being very polite and respectful to someone, because he's still fit and healthy. But he's I think he's 60, isn't he? Something around there. Anyway, so he's flying the flag for us old ones.
I'm going to Google his age as we speak, because I think you might have just added a few years to his age.
No,
He
right?
certainly
Surely
doesn't look
he's
60.
no.
Senior
But anyway,
age. Here we go. 61.
he is 61. Yeah, yeah,
Phenomenal.
yeah. So it's a bit,
Look
the
at
old.
him, doesn't he?
It's
Wow.
it takes a lot out of you doing the Paris Dakar, not the Paris Dakar, the Dakar. So he's done amazingly well. I asked him when he won the last one. He finished in Saudi Arabia, and I was there, and I said, "Why do you still do it?" He said, "I just love it." He gets such a lot out of this, and he's given so much
Yeah.
as a megastar. So incredible! Congratulations to King Carlos there for an amazing performance yet again.
And then just another word on Fernando, obviously a veteran driver. I mean, 20 years younger, but still the most experienced driver on the grid at the moment. And he's got another year on his contract with Aston Martin. I mean, you wouldn't put it past him to win the Spanish Grand Prix. It'd be good to see, wouldn't it? And it would further boost the support in the country, which is, just going from strength to strength.
Totally. I think there's a lot of goodwill there for Fernando, and he does. Again, he's another one who has delivered consistently, and he's such a canny driver. He's entertaining to listen to. His comments are hilarious, and he's always one step ahead. He's got this incredible sixth sense for what's going on around him. So both politically and tactically in a race, and he's quick. So yeah, he's very much admired. I think every racing driver looks at him and thinks, "Now there's a good contender, not
Yeah.
someone to be taken lightly."
Do you think he'll still be racing when it gets to Madrid in 2026? Can you see Aston Martin signing him again beyond next
I think,
year?
honestly, I would be amazed if he's still going by then. But
Would you?
you should
But hang on,
never discount him. Never discount it.
when he looks at Carlos Sainz Sr. at 61, still winning races,
Yeah, this is Formula One
you
though,
know,
Natalie. I mean,
can't
yeah,
rule him
an
out.
endurance event is slightly different, and experience counts an
Listen,
awful lot
you
in the desert.
you
So.
you are the best advocate for racing as an older gentleman in Formula One.
Well, I should be, but I'm not actually racing, so I'm probably not a good advocate. I'm probably an example of someone who decided, that I'd rather bow out before it gets too ugly.
And
But
talk about it rather than do it, yeah.
Well, I like to watch the sport. I like to watch the developments. I mean, the thing that I would just add on the Madrid issue or the Madrid announcement is that we got new engine regulations coming in, and the talk is of the difficulties they're going to have in extracting consistent performance from the cars. So this kind of move towards a tighter, twistier circuit, it is going in the direction of, let's say, Formula E, which has chosen to have its races in city centres and also on very, it has to be say, restricted circuits. So I hope that that's not an indication of a if you like, a concession made towards the fact that these cars are going to be down on performance compared to where they are now. I mean, with the race in Vegas, we had a very annoyed Max Verstappen talking about the nature of circuits and the kind of circuits he'd like to race on. But the fact is that Formula One has to adapt to new demands made on it from the car manufacturing point of view, as well as governments imposing correct environmental questions. So we challenged that in that direction, but I hope it'll be an exciting circuit. And the most important thing is the racing is exciting and the cars can race on there, and then we'll be happy.
Well, which was certainly a pleasant surprise about Vegas, did produce a great race. Again, perhaps going back to our earlier point about going into the unknown there, but there's certainly been this trend towards street circuits. Is that something that you're in favour of generally, or would you like to see a nice balance between the two?
Yeah, I think it's a big question. I think we have to really be sure that we are not moving entirely towards a kind of very tight, twisty, restricted kind of racetrack, which doesn't allow Formula One cars to do what they've been famous for doing, which has been, to stretch their legs on the big tracks like Silverstone and Spa and Monza and Suzuka, where they really show what they're capable of doing. It's much more difficult to appreciate the performance of a Formula One car on a tight, twisty circuit. And I believe they've got 21 or 20 corners on this very shortish. It's only a 5 odd kilometer racetrack, so that sounds like it's a very tight and twisty circuit they've got laid out already. So no apparent massively long straight, which they have in Vegas and Baku, of course.
I mean, it feels like it's got a bit of both. I mean, time will tell, and we will no doubt find out more soon. But it feels as if you can have these kind of hybrid circuits. You might hopefully keep everyone happy.
Well, it's a mixture, isn't it? You want variety, and I think that on balance, having a circuit that is close to a major city centre is a good thing, because it does improve all of the experience that you're going to get if you go to a Grand Prix. And I'm sure that they'll work it out. But we do need also to keep the spas and stuff. I mean, I mentioned Spa. Of course, Spa was actually a street circuit. It was actually roads that joined towns in the Ardennes. So that's how they originally raced on it. And in fact, a lot of the races that Formula One or motorsport started on were just roads. So this is nothing new. In effect, it's a kind of almost a bespoke circuit inside a city. But that's how motor racing started. And closed loop circuits, specialist tracks like Barcelona, are actually quite a newish invention.
Damon, as ever, it's lovely to see you, and I wasn't expecting to. So maybe Matt Baker can go on holiday a bit more often.
I was expecting to be waiting at home for my shed to be delivered, and of course it arrived from the moment we started this podcast. So I'm interested to see what will happen when I get out. Whether the bloke's turned up or not, I don't know. I can't see him.
But, is this going to be a little hideaway? Are you going to escape to your shed?
This is my winter project.
Aha.
Anyway, it's exciting times.
It really is.
New racetrack in Madrid.
New racetrack. Well, great stuff.
All right.
It's been great to have your company, and plenty more podcasts coming Sky F1 very soon. And then, of course, weekly through the season, and every race, of course, in 2024 will be live on Sky Sports F1. But from Damon and I and his shed, for now, it's bye-bye.